I have finished Vessel of Hatred expansion for Diablo 4, played new class Spiritborn, tried all the endgame activities including the Undercity and Dark Citadel, and leveled up to 200 plus Paragon. So in this review I'll try to answer the questions: is this expansion worth playing, what I think about the changes, and has it improved the game much? Short answer is yes, but there's always something that other players and me will dislike. I wasn't that hyped about the expansion in the first place. I never watched any campfire chats from the devs, early access reviews and so on, just a few cinematics and gameplay videos. And the price tag for my region doesn't seem fair, so I was hesitant to purchase it when it first appeared in the shop. Anyway, this new version of the game definitely has something to offer. It is a head start over what we got on the release back in 2023. This expansion is what the game should have looked like a year ago, because the original version lacked meaningful endgame content and sense of progression. Vessel of Hatred has improved all that significantly. When I started a new character and dived into it, I really felt the progression and the story was quite appealing, at least at the beginning. New Zone is also densely populated and filled with varied content like dungeons, biomes, strongholds and legions. We also finally got runes, mercenaries, improved pits and more. New class Spiritborn is definitely satisfying to play. All the skills feel impactful and sound design is on point. He is extremely mobile and deadly. Every ability has its use and you can destroy large piles of enemies within seconds. Regarding this class, I only have two things that I want to point out. First, Spiritborn seems to be extremely unbalanced. It is a class on steroids with a lot of multiplying multipliers that multiply multiplied multipliers. You get the idea. Quite typical on the release, even considering the fact that the devs had a PTR phase before. Nerfs will surely come at some point. It already destroys 150 pits and everything related to maximum difficulty level. Most players use only one variation with the Quill Volley, and it's more than enough to breeze Torment 4. Whenever I play this class, I felt like I should raise the difficulty even higher, as everything died in 1 second, including unscripted bosses. Other classes can certainly do some damage on Torment 4, but they seem to be less effective in pits or Infernal Hordes if compared with Spiritborn. And second, a cosmetics related complaint. While this class plays and looks great, it doesn't have many cosmetic items even with the premium battle pass. Basically every single skin that I obtained from the previous seasons is not applicable to your hero. I guess Blizzard didn't even bother to rescale existing skins from other classes. Maybe they will fix that, maybe not. Now, if you still haven't finished Vessel of Hatred, please skip the spoiler section because it is time to talk about this story. The story itself felt quite predictable, and many characters exist here just because they exist. They serve pretty much no purpose, and when someone died, I didn't care much. Although the game has some emotional and very cinematic moments. It was clear that this expansion is primarily about Neyrelle and Mephisto. Both serve the key role in Vessel of Hatred. Neyrelle is basically a girl who just tries to do her best to save the world, but for the most time she does the opposite because of the Soul Stone, which slowly corrupts her mind. She keeps whining a lot, asking you to leave her alone, that everything is her fault and Sanctuary has no hope. The storyline itself has some unexpected and impressive moments, like for example when Urivar gets first ever shown cigarette and then suddenly pierces your hero in the in-game cinematic and you fall into the river and then read some philosophical texts with deep music. Or when you enter the spirit world and face corrupted Abuan. Or revisiting well-known Durance of Hate Floor 3 from Diablo 2 with the same portal that led to the Pandemonium Fortress. Later on you also meet with the Spirit of Akarat, a legendary shepherd of the light. There is a lot of lore for this character and he takes a crucial part in the late story, when we fight the final boss and see the post-credits scene. At first this expansion was actively building engagement and mystery, however this story in my opinion ends abruptly and leaves many unanswered questions and plot holes. Other secondary characters like Maka or Arrow only cause more trouble. They are not very interesting to follow. Maka is foreshadowed to die, and Arrow is an annoying old man who is always distrustful and unwilling to take risks. In the end he betrays everyone, so players would prepare to purchase a second expansion after all this mess. Open ending was much expectable because Blizzard would surely want to continue the story and keep the player base on the leash. I expected a final battle with Mephisto, but all we got was an unoriginal one-phase fight with an Echo, harbinger of hatred, while Mephisto manages to escape and takes the body of Zakharum leader. In my opinion, the whole plot with Neyrelle was for nothing. For the entire expansion we searched for Neyrelle, trying to save her and prevent Mephisto to get out, but this was his plan in the first place. It is likely that the next expansion will tell the story of three reunited primal evils, Diablo, Baal and Mephisto. Or maybe Blizzard will split future expansions to dedicate each of them enough time. Overall, this story felt generic and predictable. Mara died for nothing, Neyrelle is saved, Mephisto fight is postponed, cinematics are 10 out of 10 as usual, and final post-credit scenes creates enough suspense. What about the content itself? As I mentioned earlier, Vessel of Hatred introduces a new region, Hantu, that is partially present in Diablo 2, including Kurast and Triumvirat. We also meet with some familiar faces to appeal the veteran audience. Hell, they even brought back the final floor of Durance of Hate where we fought the actual Mephisto and opened the portal to the next act. This new zone has a lot of interesting and not so interesting side quests. Legions introduce new gameplay objectives where you have to protect crystals or push the bow to charge the well. As for the strongholds, they definitely stand out. The first one is more traditional, where you need to clear all the monsters and fight twin bosses in the end. Second stronghold, Festering Dark, is the most impressive in my opinion. Here you need to use a lantern inside a pitch black dungeon. You can easily get lost here and the monsters won't let you carry the lantern for a long time. By lighting braziers you can get to the boss where new mechanics will be waiting for you. The battle with him is not so difficult, but he can be attacked only when he is standing in the light. This is easily one of the best strongholds I've ever played, and the music successfully complements the dark atmosphere. And the final stronghold is a village Kichuk that must be saved from Lakuni warriors. It is strange that there is no new world boss, but overall Nahantu is great. It is densely populated by elites and other monsters. Dungeons look refreshing, strongholds bring some new mechanics, and the endgame does really seem promising once you finish the story. And before I forget, Mercenaries have also appeared in the game. They are not quite the same as in Diablo 2, and you can't equip them with gear, but they still provide various buffs and even have their own individual reputation. Leveling them up unlocks new skills that you can choose from, allowing for some customization. Unfortunately, they are not very talkative in combat, and their damage is barely enough to kill a fly. As a small bonus for playing with them, you earn special coins that you can trade with the merchant for various resources or equipment. Also, it is worth mentioning that the quests to unlock each mercenary are quite engaging. They really have their own motives and backstory, so you are not likely to be bored. The endgame itself has become more refined than before. Previously you had to level up each character individually, clearing annoying nightmare dungeons and run pretty useless speeds only for masterworking. Now we have a lot more options. With the crafting system revamped, including resources and main stats, players are encouraged to engage in almost every type of activity. Currently, nightmare dungeons have actually become the least appealing activity for me. You can no longer level up glyphs there, and all you get is a bit of loot and resources for upgrades. Infernal Hordes are still around, offering plenty of experience. The wave count has increased and the difficulty is no longer tied to a consumable compass. Clearing these hordes grants a huge amount of resources or items depending on your choice at the end. However, I wish this activity had more depth. I would love to see more waves with diverse modifiers that actually change the rules. It feels like the real fun starts towards the end of the waves, once you've selected enough modifiers, but just when things get exciting and you are fully immersed, this activity ends. Basically, I wish this arena had at least 30 waves or even endless waves that get progressively harder with increasing rewards to match the challenge. The pits are now also closer to the greater reefs from Diablo 3. As usual, at the end you defeat the boss and upgrade legendary gems aka glyphs up to level 100. The pit is a great way to test your hero and make it even stronger. However, reaching top pits can be tricky because of reworked aspects. As you probably know, only ascendant items allow you to extract aspects, and those now drop rarely. But that's only part of the problem. To get the most out of your build, you'll need to find an item that rolled with a higher percent bonus. Some players, even after 150 plus hours in the game, still haven't found aspects with maximum bonuses, simply because they weren't lucky enough. Target farming the Undercity, farming hordes and gambling don't really help much either. This task is basically harder than finding a mythic item nowadays, which is weird and unfair. Unfortunately, pits also miss the leaderboards and the maps are quite repetitive. You'll often encounter locations from regular dungeons and progress is limited to 2 floors. If you focus too much on big packs of enemies, you might run into a situation where you lack progress to summon the boss. Sometimes I had to backtrack to hunt down smaller enemies. Same issue I had with the Undercity, but that is for later. One more important thing, if you're playing pits with other players and someone dies, the whole team loses one chance to roll a glyph. In my opinion, this isn't very fair. I doubt that griefers, leechers and random death would keep you or other members excited. By the way, the pit can be accessed only from Carragher. Why wasn't that pillar added to other major towns, including Kurast, is a mystery. What I didn't like in Vessel of Hatred is the rune system. It works pretty straightforward and sometimes they grant you some decent bonuses, but it's nowhere near what we had in Diablo 2. These runes don't add game-changing effects like the classic Rune Wars, Spirit or Enigma. In Diablo 4, players are limited to just 2 sockets, so forming complex Rune Wars is impossible. Here's how it works. You insert 2 runes, one acting as a trigger and the other as an action. It might give your character a slight boost like armor, HP, other classes buff or damage, but I'd like to see more variety with these runes. One more thing to add is that runes are valuable for trading and crafting. Some of the rarest ones are now used to create mythic gear, but for those without the new expansion, they'll have to grind for purple items from Ubers or by crafting random caches at the blacksmith for 50 million gold. The jeweler also allows you to convert extra runes into others of the same quality, but I haven't found much benefit in that. It is hardly an efficient target farming method. If you really need target farming, then Undercity is your best bet. Undercity is one of the newest activities we got in the Vessel of Hatred. Sounds fun and interesting on paper, however for me it felt kind of bland. I will explain why I think so. After I progressed the story enough, I was able to pick a side quest related to this activity. Ormus and some other extremely memorable NPCs asked me for several times to clear the new dungeon. At first I was really impressed, but then I decided to abandon this drawn out quest line and resume main story. My plan was to save Undercity for the endgame, but this was a rookie mistake. It turns out that if you don't finish this side quest, you won't receive tributes and you won't be able to list your party for this activity. Tributes are basically your buffs that you can sacrifice to open a portal with specific modifiers. Here you can also add the bargain to enhance the rewards and make farming worth your time. Almost. Unfortunately, running through the Undercity doesn't always guarantee the drop you want. Most often you'll see useless non-ascendant items that won't empower your aspects or meet the required stats with the stars. The only worthwhile option here is choosing the tribute for runes. This gives you a better chance of finding runes to craft long-awaited items like Tyrael's Might, Shroud of the False Death or maybe Harlequin. The dungeon itself was fun for the first few runs. I falsely believed that this activity would keep me engaged for long, but Blizzard was wrong. I have cleared roughly 25 to 30 Undercity dungeons and I'm already tired of this nonsense. While it is certainly a nice idea to open a dungeon with your own modifiers aka bargains to target farm specific materials and items, the dungeon itself is extremely generic. There are like 4 maps at most with the same layouts and the same objectives. Monsters die easily. Rewards are mostly a scam, even if you pay 10 million gold for a bargain. But the most annoying problem is the mob density. Some maps desperately need more monsters. Even when I gathered all the souls from the pillars and cleared every single corner, it still wasn't enough for the maximum tier 4 reward. However, filling the entire bar doesn't seem rewarding anyway. Now the Dark Citadel. This new activity truly surprised me, though calling the Citadel a raid is a bit misleading. It has 3 wings, each each with new mechanics and boss battles that you can kill almost without any help. Completing parts of the dungeon and defeating bosses rewards you with coin caches, rare cosmetics and sometimes valuable loot. There is also a hub zone where you can repair, upgrade gear and interact with other players. It is quite convenient for navigation and you can set it as favorite to return easily. In this hub there is also a special vendor where you can exchange Citadel coins. However, even if you are playing on Torment 4 and run this activity often, the coins barely cover the cost of a basic scroll, let alone the overpriced cosmetics which look awful. What's also worth mentioning is the in-game economy and materials. I don't know why Blizzard keeps inflating numbers for everything. 900k fragments, billions of gold, thousands of shards for masterwork and so on. Such large numbers only make trading and crafting more complicated and add technical issues. Previously, players, and myself included, ran into limits on jewel fragments. This cap was later raised, but the problem hasn't been fully resolved. Tons of fragments keep dropping and crafting gems require a huge amount of resources. Why not just denominate these values to more reasonable levels? Only Blizzard knows. This also applies to damage numbers. We are basically back to the situation with Diablo 3, where we had dozens of different numbers in the trillions on the screen, in which you can barely tell if your hero is dealing more damage or not. You'd probably tell me, well, we have a training ground with mannequins. Yes, but this doesn't solve the problem completely. It takes time to analyze all these numbers, plus there's no damage meter at all. That's probably all regarding the expansion itself. As for the PvP, well, there's nothing. Like zero. No new cosmetics, no new PvP zone in the Hantu, no achievements or seasonal objectives. Nothing. I don't know why Blizzard hasn't done anything to this aspect of the game, but that's probably for the better, because most classes are unbalanced. It is not fun and it is not rewarding. So if you are a PvP player, just play Diablo 2 or Battlefield instead. It will save your nerves, trust me. And the last thing I want to discuss here, the Season 6 that started with this expansion. Seasonal theme is a complete disappointment. Once again, players are forced to farm reputation for a faction, and the only feature we got in Season 6 is the Hellwalker with the Blend Dungeon. No new runes, special items that improve your builds or glyphs. The only stuff to farm in the new season is potions of different colors and effects. But to obtain this potion you need to kill Hellwalker and clear a dungeon. On paper, Hellwalker sounds like a great idea. They first appeared in Diablo 3. It is a giant elite slash boss that slowly walks on the battlefield and summons minions to stop you. However, the process of farming is quite tedious and extremely repetitive. You have to find a Hellwalker on the map, wait for it to come out of the ground, and then follow him for a few minutes while clearing some generic enemies. This big ass demonic slowpoke is immune to your damage and it drops the shield only once it reaches the specific spot, and after you kill him it drops zero loot. Then we enter a created dungeon which usually looks like a copy of any dungeon from vanilla. There is not much else to say here. You make a sacrifice to open a portal, depending what you need the most. Clear the floor and get your rewards with potions. These potions certainly help you level up faster, find more gear, gold or boss materials, but calling this a new season is a scam. There is no story, just one faction and one Hellwalker with potions. Season 5 had even more story and content, as we got new arena mode named Infernal Hordes. It is 200% better than what we got in the Season 6 for sure. I probably understand why it is so bland and repetitive. It is because of the expansion. People would still focus mostly on the expansion itself and will be busy experimenting with builds, farming pits, Undercity and Citadel. New season is basically a small addition to the game. So what can be said about this expansion? Overall it is good. It's certainly not perfect, but it's a definite improvement over what we had at Diablo 4's launch. The game remains controversial in my opinion, and many players may still disagree with me or Blizzard. The company doesn't always make the right choices, and there is still room for improvement. The endgame has become more refined and engaging, and leveling to maximum now has a purpose. Every week players can complete the Dark Citadel to earn valuable rewards. It is starting to resemble an MMORPG in some ways, though with limitations. The Pit and Hordes have become the new endgame core, while Nightmare Dungeons have taken a back seat. Loot is also more simplified and intuitive. If you are searching for specific items, you can focus on the Undercity, Hordes or Ubers. This content has kept me engaged for over 150 hours, including the main story, side quests, leveling and perfecting my gear. However, I don't yet see much reason to repeat it all in the next season. By that I mean leveling from scratch to 300 Paragon, once again farming for mythic gear and clearing the same pits. They have laid a solid foundation in this expansion, but they need to expand the endgame further by adding more maps, unique mechanics, bosses, varied objectives and more raids. I suppose this will only happen in the next expansion. Until then, the developers will continue releasing small seasonal themes every 3 months, hopefully with the new content like Hordes. So what do you think about Vessel of Hatred expansion? Share your opinion in the comments below. Thank you for watching and listening, have a nice day and stay safe.